All right. Well, welcome everyone to our Purim Hamantaschen cooking demonstration today. My name is Julie Burr. I'm a board member with the Montana Jewish Project. And I'd also like to introduce Kim Lloyd, who is the Harvest of the Month coordinator, and we'll be hearing from her while the dough is chilling about Harvest of the Month and agriculture in Montana. So I know we have folks who aren't Jewish on the call here, so I want to do a little Purim 101, but this isn't going to be like a whole Purim 101 thing. So Purim is the next coming Jewish holiday. This year it falls on the same day as St. Patrick's Day. So I'm going to loop back to that. Purim is a holiday. It's one of those they tried to kill us. They didn't. The Jews won, so we eat things. Kind of holidays. Purim is kind of known as the Jewish Halloween, kind of a carnival. It's a fun, topsy-turvy holiday. The story behind it in 60 seconds. In the land of Persia in the olden times, there was a king who had a banquet for the men. His wife, Queen Vashti, had a banquet for the women, and he said, "Hey, Queen Vashti, come dance for me with your crown." And what we're taking from this text is that it's just with just the crown. And so she said, "No, I'm not doing that," and he kicked her out. So our old-time feminist hero, one of them from the story, is Queen Vashti. So now the king is without a wife. Out in the land, there is a Jewish man named Mordecai who hears of the need, the king putting out a beauty pageant call for a new queen, and he tells his niece Esther to go try to do it. So he and Esther are Jewish, but she keeps that under wraps while she goes to the beauty pageant, and she does get selected to be the queen. So now the king has a new Jewish wife, and possibly all is well for a while. Now the king has an evil advisor named Haman, and when we tell the story in Haman, when we tell the story in Temple, people have these little noisemakers, and everyone says "boo" to boo out the name of the evil advisor. So Haman's out doing his thing, and out in the town, I guess, and runs into Mordecai. Remember, Esther's Jewish cousin. And probably some others, and he says, "Everyone should bow down to me because I am, the king's important advisor." And Mordecai says, "No, I'm Jewish. We only bow down to God." And this really, really annoys Haman. So he goes back to the king and says, "Hey, we need to get rid of all the Jews." Hi, everyone. Let's see. So word of this gets out because there's a proclamation that all the Jews are going to be exterminated. Mordecai hears of this and tells his niece that she has to do something. She's the queen. She has some clout. So let's go talk to your husband. Go talk to your husband, the king. So she does a fast for 3 days. She and all her women assistants do a fast for 3 days, and then she goes to the king and then says, "I want to invite you and Haman to a banquet." On the second night of the banquet, I don't know why we don't do this now. We need more like 2-day long banquets. This sounds great. She says, "You love me, right, king, my husband, but I am Jewish, and so this proclamation to kill all the Jews would kill me." And he says, "What? Who says we should do this?" And she says, "The evil Haman." And at this point, Haman's ousted and killed, and the Jews survive. And Mordecai has, elsewise in this plot, has alerted the king of another assassination attempt. And so Mordecai gets promoted to a good office. And so because in this course of the story, we have been through good and evil and all sorts of things, Purim is a holiday celebrating the Jewish people's survival, and also, you're supposed to have this party, and not know the difference between good and evil if you really party hard. And we eat Hamantaschen, which are now, we know them in the US and around the as the three-cornered hat, the filled three-cornered hat. I'll show you a picture in a second, which is supposed to be Haman's hat, might also be Haman's ears, might also be a fertility thing. So for folks who want to look that up, I'll let you go Google that on your own. It's pretty awesome, that symbolism. So I am going to show you what traditional Hamantaschen look like. I say traditional because, there's stuff we grew up with and there's other traditions for Purim treats around the world, just so you can get a sense of what it usually looks like, and then so what we're making today. So these are Hamantaschen. Many of us Jewish folks would have grown up eating prune or poppy seed or maybe apricot filling. And what I love is with the goodness of the internet these days, there are so many different recipes out there. There's chocolate Hamantaschen, which I think are the best. And with it falling on St. Patty's Day, there are Irish cream Hamantaschen, which we're not making, but I want to make. Today we are doing a red velvet Hamantaschen with a chickpea cookie dough filling. And so that's what we're going to kick off. I want to ask, is anyone baking along with us today? And I want to try to keep pace with you if you are, or if you're just here to watch, then that is also great. You guys baking along with us? Where are you all calling in from?
We're in Hamilton, Montana.
Wonderful. Welcome. I see you've already got something delicious to be eating.
Yeah, he's got the filling, keeping him busy.
What filling did you make?
We made the cream cheese filling.
Ooh. Yeah, sounds
red
great.
velvet and cream cheese just go together for us. So
yes. Yep. I can't do dairy, which is why I got the chickpea filling, but I would love to be having the cream cheese. Yeah, sounds great. Thanks. All right. So thanks, Sarah. She says just here to watch. All right. So let us get going. Okay. So I'm going to start with the wet ingredients. Grovemans, if you're cooking along, you're welcome to head into the kitchen, or anyone else cooking along, welcome, or just hang out and watch. So this recipe is healthier than a lot of Hamantaschen recipes out there, which call for like a stick of butter and like 3/4 scoop of sugar. I'm like, that's a lot, because not that I need to be healthy in all things, but I want to eat a lot of cookies. So I guess I better make healthier recipe. So we're going to throw in, I'm going to switch my screen over because I have the magic of a webcam where you can see what I'm doing. It's going to be awesome. Okay. All right. So we're starting off with the applesauce. It calls for some kind of oil, coconut oil or olive oil. I'm just using canola oil here. It doesn't look very fancy. It looks like a little thing of oil. And we've got our vanilla and maple syrup. Which I haven't ever tried to do this before, so I don't have like the magic like camera that comes over the food and you can see all the cool things. But one day we're gonna do that. Vanilla and maple syrup, and that will be our wet ingredients. I also selected a vegan recipe for us to use, so we can really accommodate as many food kind of preferences and restrictions as we can here. This is really easy too. You don't have the cream, the butter, and the sugar, and that's a pain, although delicious. All right, so I'm going to set this aside. I've already got my flour measured out. If you're not gluten-free, you can skip the xanthan gum. That's just the magic binder for the gluten-free flour. I've already got the flour and the xanthan gum together. And there's a little bit less flour because we've got the cocoa powder in here, which will also help as other dry ingredients. Right. And then we've got your, I don't know how to do this, make it look pretty. There we go. There we go. We've got your little dish of white things, which is our salt and baking powder and baking soda. And we'll throw all that in. And we've got our flaxseed. I'm just using the ground flaxseed you can get in the health food store. And this comes in as our egg substitute, their binder. The applesauce will also help bind and lend some sweetness. And these are my favorite parts. So we've got the cocoa powder. I'm gonna figure out how to do this with the camera. You probably can't see that. Okay. Cocoa powder and the beet powder. If you haven't worked with beet powder, I love it because it is this beautiful red. I just got it in the bulk spice section of the local health food store. I made a really nice red velvet latte over the holidays with beet powder and cocoa and warm milk, and that's great. So I'm just going to throw in the cocoa powder and beet powder. I'm just going to mix this up and it's going to turn into our fun pink dough. All right. And then I don't want to get too far ahead of the Groveman gang, but I think they probably know what they're doing. They got the awesome. All right, I'm going to add our wet ingredients in, and we're going to have some fun color changing. It's got a light pink now, and it's going to turn into a nice dark pink. I think Purim is the best holiday to have. Well, all holidays are great holidays to have weird colored things, but I think Purim is especially a great holiday to have fun colored treats. Welcome, Beth. I'm just going to mix this. So this recipe that I'm using makes about a baker's dozen worth of cookies, which is perfect for trying to deal with in this group. I have found I sometimes need to add a little bit of water, so I'm going to do that because I don't think this is quite coming together. Also add a little bit of applesauce. I'm going to try a little bit of water this time. Get all the rest of our applesauce. I didn't get out of the bowl. Just get a little bit of water. I'm just going to add my water just by the teaspoonful so I don't overly wet this dough because that will not be good. So while you all are watching me mix this, what are your favorite Purim and Hamantaschen traditions, if anyone wants to share? Beth and I got into could have gone into a heated debate yesterday about it. Beth, do you want to share with us about your favorite Purim and Hamantaschen traditions?
Hi, everybody. I'm Beth Murphy, and just as a quick explanation about my last name, I'm Jewish and I married a Catholic, and I'm Beth Murphy. But the Hamantaschen that I grew up with would have had any one of these three fillings: apricot, poppy seed, or almond. And I love all of those. And I especially love poppy seed. And
let me put you on the
that's my,
spot.
that's my Hamantaschen story.
It's not coming together. Thanks for letting me put you on the spot, Beth. I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna grab some applesauce and throw some of that in. No, where I put the applesauce.
Does anybody else have any Hamantaschen stories to share?
So Jess asks, what are the traditional fruits for it? So I was reading today that this comes from an old German pastry called Hamantaschen, so Mohn, for Mohn being poppy seed. And then, so it was traditionally a poppy seed pastry. And somehow over time it got associated with Purim. Traditional fruits, as I was reading, because the holiday was in, this holiday in Jewish calendar time is always, March, maybe February, maybe April. We wouldn't have like summer fruits. You wouldn't have strawberries. You wouldn't have that kind of stuff. So in the olden times, that wouldn't have been available. So that's probably where you get the dried fruits, probably the prune, maybe the apricot if they were drying apricots. And then I think what I grew up with was apricot, which I kind of liked, prune, which I don't think I liked. Poppy seed grew on me. Beth and I were talking about this, how it grows on you as you grow up. Chocolate for sure. So where we're going with this is eventually it becomes a dough. My parents want to share, and they don't like to be put on the spot, but do they want to share anything about what they grew up with Hamantaschen?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. I grew up with poppy seed, of course, and apricot, and then in later years, chocolate, which remains my favorite.
And I remember we had apricot, poppy seed, and then my mom had prune, like Julie just said, prunes. And I thought that was vile. And I didn't know why anybody would want to make it with that, but everything else was good.
Thanks. All right, so I think we are getting there. I think we're pretty much there. So we've got the dough that's finally cooperated. I don't know if it's the gluten-free or the altitude, or it's so dry in Montana that it just always takes a little more effort to come together. So now it wants to go sit in the fridge and just rest for 20 minutes or so. So for anyone who makes sugar cookies at the holidays, pretty much the same thing. You want it to be chilled before you shape it and throw it in the oven. So I'm just gonna wrap this up in some plastic wrap. And now we'll have video documentation of my fight with plastic wrap. That looks amazing. Right. Check you out. Can I pin your video for a second? I'm gonna spotlight your video. Look at that.
Does that look about right?
I love it. Is that beet powder or did you go with food coloring?
No, food coloring.
Okay, yeah, that's vibrant. That's beautiful. Nice. Yeah, so throw that in, wrap it up in some wrap and throw in the fridge for a bit. Yeah, nice. All right, I'm gonna put this back on gallery. Explain the school of thought around the evil king's hat versus ear for the shape. No. I think I was reading about this. I will take a quick glance, and I can also, but how about I follow up? I'll post it on our Facebook event page if I come up with any information or even just some information that justifies me not having a clue. What I grew up hearing was it was the hat. But there's also another, as I was looking up, what's going on with Hamantaschen. It was the Hebrew word for ears was coming up as like the Ozne something. I don't know if it was Hamantaschen or Ozme Haman or something. So it was, yeah, great question though. Thank you. So I'm going to get this in the fridge and I'm going to turn it over to Kim for our harvest of the month chat.
Thank you. I'm learning a lot. So thanks for sharing the story and everyone's traditions with the fillings. I'm going to have to make some of my own here after this. Do I have the ability to share my screen or should I just talk?
Just 1 second and you will have ability to share. Okay, now you should be good.
Okay. Should be able to see my computer screen here.
Yep.
So again, my name is Kim and I work at St. Peter's Health. I have a very unique position for, I think, any hospital to be a nutrition educator and someone who works in the community to help provide, we call them upstream approaches to help prevent chronic disease in our community. So I work a lot with school-age children to provide nutrition education. So hopefully they can start off on the right foot, eating healthy foods and making healthy decisions for later in life, as there are a lot of diet-related chronic health conditions out there that are just getting worse. And so we use this program from MSU called Harvest of the Month. And it is basically a calendar of foods that grow in Montana, and it follows what is available year round. So not a lot of fresh produce available in Montana right now. There's not a lot of fresh anything. So for the month of March, we're featuring grains. And if anyone is familiar with driving between Helena and Bozeman, especially, I see a lot of grains growing on the side of the road out in the wheat fields. Montana is 3rd in the country for both wheat and barley production. We are 17th for oats and 37th, I believe, for corn. So we don't grow a lot of corn in this state. Where I'm from, back in Wisconsin, they do grow a lot of corn. Switch over here to our wheat and barley fields here in Montana. So I use this information from MSU to provide nutrition education, and we're also working at the hospital to offer up more local foods, and a lot of these whole foods that grow in Montana are really healthy for us. So just refamiliarizing ourselves with whole foods and making recipes with them. The dough that Julie just made, I believe, had brown rice flour in it. So for the month of March, we're really focusing on whole grains. I think grains have really gotten a bad rap in the past few years around a lot of processed grains and foods in the grocery store that are full of processed grains, but whole grains themselves have a ton of nutrition in them. And if we search and try and make at least half the grains we eat whole grains, there's a lot of nutrition available for us. So any questions about what Harvest of the Month is, or thoughts around these local foods in Montana? So sorry, I'm just going to show a few web pages here. For the month of grains, or for the month of March, the grains, these are materials that I share. This newsletter, I think I just shared some of the material in this newsletter, but I can post a link to here in the chat in case you want to read up a little bit more about grains and maybe have some recipes that are available for using whole grains. There's there's the link to what I'm showing right now. But this is, there's a tabbouleh recipe in here with bulgur wheat. So that's just cracked wheat that you can soak in hot water and you don't have to cook it. Add a bunch of veggies, makes a delicious salad or side dish to the foods. And then also in here, there's a recipe for oatmeal on the go breakfast bars. And this is what I've been serving to fourth graders this month in schools across Helena. Super easy just to make a batch of these and have them ready to go for the week. If you have busy mornings, grab one of these for a quick breakfast rather than sitting down for a bowl of oatmeal. But and I did make these gluten-free, as there's some kids in the school that are have a gluten allergy, and just using gluten-free oats, grinding up the oats and using that in place of the whole wheat flour. And then I also used water and some flax meal in place of the eggs. So you can make them gluten, dairy-free, etc. But pretty versatile recipe there. You can put different fruits and whatnot to make it to your liking. So see a couple of things in the chat. Besides grains, what produce is the state known for? So beef, and so for the month of, sorry, this is not produce, but Montana is really well known for our beef. Probably heard there's more cows than people in the state. We're also featuring bison in the month of May, which has a lot of great health benefits and supports native agriculture in the state as well. But then also there's all these great produce. We have a ton of apples that grow around Montana, around Helena especially. And I know like in the Bitterroot Valley, they do a lot of apples too. And I don't think that gets as much of a highlight as it should in the state. There's a ton of old orchards around Helena, and it's really cool. Otherwise, pretty common veggies that you can find in most northern climates here. Of course, our flathead cherries are pretty popular as well. Yeah, great question. And then I saw another one in the chat here. There we go. And I am not finding that it's super easy to find local vendors. Working with the hospital and the school district, we need pretty large quantities. And as many of you have heard, there's a lot of food service staffing shortages. And if you purchase a can of processed carrots, already peeled and diced, it's easy as pouring it out and adding it to something. When you have to buy whole carrots and peel them and chop them, that adds a whole nother staff person and more time. So as there are local vendors in the area, it can be, that adds another challenge on top of finding processed foods, because you also can't just chop up carrots in your home kitchen and sell them to a school. We need a lot of food safety regulations around that too. So the food system is very complicated. There are some great projects going, and if I have time at the end of this, I'm happy to talk a little bit more about some other projects happening in the area that are helping to make local foods more accessible. It's a great question and something I hope I can find the answer to in my time here at the hospital. So I do want to share, oh gosh, sorry, trying to click on something that's in the way here. So this is pretty, I guess, elementary in terms of talking about grains, but something I think that's really important just to think about when we are purchasing or consuming grains is trying to make sure that we're getting whole grains in what we're eating. So like I said, grains and especially wheat has a bad reputation, and there are definitely allergies out there with wheat, and a lot of things are made with wheat. If you think of all of our crackers and cookies and breads, when you go to the grocery store, wheat is across the board the most common grain you'll find at the grocery store. But there's thousands of types of grains out there, and getting a variety of grains is super important in our diet. So not just getting wheat, but also oats and barley and rye and buckwheat, and gosh, there's probably a list of the flours that are in the gluten-free one, rice, that we're probably not consuming enough of other types of grains. But grains are a pretty big part of what we're supposed to be eating each day. avoiding grains completely, we'll miss out on a lot of nutrition. So what is up here on my screen is one single wheat berry. I actually have right next to me a jar of some wheat berries that I've been showing. I'll take them out here so I can show them up on my screen. I've been showing kiddos. Maybe I can't do that angle. I'll just put them up here. So here's a jar of wheat berries when they are harvested from the field. This is what they look like after they're out of their stalk. You can cook them just like this, or they're mostly ground up into flour. So when you buy whole wheat flour, it's the whole wheat berry just ground up and the whole thing is in there. So if you look at it under a microscope here, you would see these three parts. Well, might not be able to identify them, but these are the three parts of a whole grain. And so the outer coating of one of the wheat berries, what makes it brown, is called the bran. You may be familiar with wheat bran, making like bran muffins. The bran is full of fiber and B vitamins. So great source of nutrition in the bran. Inside the bran, you will find the germ. And I always tell kids, this is not a bad germ, but it's just what it's named. But here's some wheat germs. Some people add this to like smoothies because this is also super healthy for us. The germ is what provides the wheat berry the nutrition to sprout a new plant. So it's all the nutrition that the plant needs to grow. So eating the germ is providing us nutrition too. Tons of B vitamins, some protein, minerals, and healthy fats are in the germ. Finally, inside there, that makes up the majority of the grain, is called the endosperm, and that's the white part that's on the inside. The endosperm is full of carbohydrates, and that's what actually gives the germ food so that it can grow, but it's only carbohydrates. It's not all the vitamins and minerals and fiber. So white flour was developed a long time ago to make cakes and cookies lighter and fluffier and more pure, I guess, in appearance. But what they do to make white flour is to remove the germ. So that's why we can buy germ by itself, because it's a byproduct of making white flour. They remove the bran. I also have a jar of that here. It looks pretty similar to the germ, but it's kind of like fish food looking. They remove the bran with all the fiber, and they just grind up the endosperm to make the white flour. So we are left with just carbohydrates in there and not the extra protein and vitamins and minerals and fiber. So which one do you think is healthier, the whole grain or the ground up white flour? It's pretty obvious, but I'll let folks respond to that if they want to. Yeah, so if you're thinking in your head, the whole grain, yes. Yep, the whole grain is the healthier choice. It's going to have all the pieces to it. So thinking of, I mean, eating anything in its whole form is going to have the most nutrition to it. Think about like a potato. Eating the skin with the potato is going to have fiber and vitamins and minerals in the skin. Not everyone likes the skin, so they peel it, and there's a lot of starch inside that potato, and there's some vitamins and minerals too. But eating the skin with it gives you fiber. Same with treating a wheat berry as like a whole fruit or vegetable. It's all in there together. So I think baking with whole grains goes really well. There's, I'm not trying to promote any brands or anything, but there's a bakery on the west side of Helena, whole sunflower bakery, and they do a lot of whole grain breads, and they also use different types of grains too. There's an ancient wheat variety, kamut, that they make grain that they make bread out of. They do a lot of alternative type stuff that we don't see commonly in the grocery store, and they use sourdough to help rise it. So it's yeah, it's a lot of thought and time put into those loaves of bread, so we're getting lots of nutrition. So yeah, so there's white flour, and oftentimes when you get it at the grocery store, it's called all-purpose flour because it's blended up winter and spring wheat, and so it can be used for a variety of purposes. And you may see the word enriched on there. And enriched means that they have added it back in some of the vitamins and minerals. So same with like some of our breakfast cereals where they add in vitamins and minerals, white flour, they've added some of those back in that have been taken out from removing the germ. And it's not quite as many as what's in whole wheat flour, or maybe they've added some more of things, but they don't add the fiber back in. So while there's some things in there, it's not quite as healthy. So whoops. Am I still sharing my screen? Okay.
No, it's just back to you.
Whoops, sorry. Let me go back to, all right. I wanted to show just a couple types of breads to illustrate this a little bit. Again, I just Googled really quick some different types of bread, so not promoting these at all. And wanted to show, so this is just one type of bread. You look at the front and you see 21 whole grains and seeds. So wow, sounds really healthy. Really important, besides just looking at what's on the front, to look at the nutrition facts. We want to look at the ingredients. If you can see here, it lists off organic whole wheat flour as the very first ingredient. And so that's what we want to see in a loaf of bread, is when we flip over and read the ingredient label, to see the word whole in that very first ingredient. That means that is the highest quantity ingredient in there. Even the second ingredient has the word whole in it. Besides looking at the nutrition facts or at the ingredients, you can also look at under carbohydrates, fiber is usually listed. And so 5 grams of fiber in one slice of bread for this one. So this would be a great whole grain choice. Has the word whole right on the front too. That's helpful. Here is another example. So this is brown looking bread, just says wheat bread on the front. We look at the back here. It shows us there's only 1 gram of fiber per slice. The ingredients are down here. Look at the first ingredient, says enriched wheat flour. So that is that just the endosperm ground up into wheat flour. It's still wheat, but it's not whole wheat. So we really want to look for that word whole. It tells us that and here's the enriched things they've added back in. They've added iron, niacin, thiamine, etc. Back in. There's whole wheat flour a couple after there, but it's not the very first ingredient. And you saw there's only 1 gram of fiber per slice. So not the healthiest choice. Another example here just says cracked 9 grain on the front, healthy loaf. Looking at the ingredients, whole wheat flour, great. Fibers 3 grams, not too bad. And then last one, I think here, yes, this one I've seen at the grocery store before, and you see 9 grain and there's oatmeal on the outside. So it looks really healthy, but the very first ingredient is unbleached wheat flour, not the word whole, and just 2 grams of fiber per slice. So yeah, any questions on that, or does anybody have any tips for finding whole grains at the grocery store? Or is it something that you've done before?
Something I've tried to do, but with gluten-free, it adds a whole other game to trying to find bread that you can tolerate and that's palatable, that also maybe has some whole non-gluten grains.
Exactly. Yeah. And with the baking mix you were using, like the very first ingredient said brown rice flour. And so brown rice is again an example of a whole grain versus white rice. They've removed the outer coating of bran to make the white rice. So the brown rice is a great alternative for a whole grain. Same with like whole corn. You may not always see the word whole. I think rice is probably the biggest one where you just have to look for the word brown to see that it's a whole grain to get that nutrition. So yeah, that's tough with gluten-free too. But cooking grains like in their whole form as well is a great way to get grains. It doesn't always have to be processed into something like bread. Oats are a really great example of a gluten-free, just to make sure that they're processed in the gluten-free facility if you are allergic to that as well. Yeah, any other questions or thoughts? Yeah, great lesson. Bread is kind of across the board, something that folks look for. So it's an easy example, but I challenge you to also look at like the crackers. If you are a cracker purchaser, to look at the box when you're at the grocery store and look at the very first ingredient and see if it has the word whole in it. Or pasta. Yeah, things like that. Even there's some cookies out there that might have the word whole, or if you're baking, like making the Hamantaschen or your favorite cookie recipe, I challenge you to maybe switch out like half of the flour for a whole grain, or all of it. I really like the yellow bag of the wheat Montana. It's a spring wheat, so it's a little lighter in texture, but it's a whole wheat flour, and I think it works really well for baking cookies and even cupcakes and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's about all I have. If anyone wants to add anything to the conversation or has any questions for me, I'm happy to share any additional information.
Hey Kim, this is Sarah. When you swap out whole wheat flour for baking, do you have to switch anything else when you do that?
No. I guess with bread, it takes a little bit of experimentation. I've added slightly a little bit more water sometimes when I'm making bread because it can be a little denser. One thing I do is I do sift it. Normally I don't take the time to do that, but I do sift whole wheat flour because it makes, sometimes there's a little bit of bran or things that didn't get ground quite as fine and they can break up the gluten structure. So I will sift it, but otherwise, like for cookie recipe, I'll just follow it as is. Just swap it out 1-to-1. Yeah, thanks for inviting me, and thanks for taking the time to listen to my rambling about whole grains. I'm happy to be a resource, and sorry, I'll stop sharing that. So share anything that if you have any questions about Montana grown foods, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Kim. I think it's a challenge, especially for Ashkenazi Jews, so Jews of Eastern European descent, trying to find ways to make our traditional treats a little healthier because they are full of white flour and probably, I don't know what, lard and sugar and all kinds of things. Maybe not lard, but yeah, I'm trying to figure out how do you bring it into the 21st century when we're trying to, when we know what we know about health and all that. So I'll tell you the story of my first attempt with oat Hamantaschen as I get this rolling out. So it's been about 20 minutes. So I'm getting my dough out of the fridge. And I found that this one doesn't come out quite as dense as when I've done like other kind of sugar cookie recipes in the past. Not that you can tell in any way, but it gives a little more give there. So, when you're rolling out cookies, what I found I like to do with the gluten-free, because it likes to get sticky, is I'm just rolling out, just going to put some parchment down, put this down, then put parchment on top. I'm just going to mute so I don't deafen you all with the sound of parchment for just a second. All right, so I've got my parchment down. And you also want to put down a little bit of flour to help keep it from sticking to everything. I don't have a measurement for that. That is, so you're not giving it a whole flour bath, but also enough to keep it from getting too sticky. So I'm just gonna pull it out. It's not gonna be as vibrant as the Grovemans with their food coloring, which is so exciting. I love that. So here's where we're at. Oh, I'm gonna shift my camera. Thank you, Sarah. All right. A little rearranging here. This is a time where you would preheat your oven, but I'm just gonna get this going and then I'll bake these up later. I'm gonna roll these in a little bit of flour. And also, so throwing down the parchment actually really helps with the rolling pin I found. Especially for the gluten-free. I'm just gonna give this a smush. Smush here, that's the technical term for what's happening. Then I've got my rolling pin. I think the original recipe I'm borrowing this from says you roll out to about 1/4 of an inch thick. So that's where we're gonna aim. You'll hear me over the rustling at all? Okay. So I was setting this up with Kim, and I wanted to do, a good whole wheat or whole grain that you can find in Montana. And I said, well, great. Well, there's people who do like a gluten-free oat flour here. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna do oat flour. So that's what this recipe originally called for, is oat flour. And so you blend up some oats in the blender, and you go with oat flour. And when I made it, we ended up with this red dough with these weird like oat flecks in it. And so then I served it to people and they're like, oh, it's a meat pie. I'm like, okay, this needs a little workshopping. You can find savory Hamantaschen recipes online if that's more of your thing, if you want to try them. You find really any kind of Hamantaschen. There's people who make sushi Hamantaschen if you just, shape it that way. So that's all real fun. I think we are a little uneven, so I'm just gonna do a little tinkering here. I'm gonna pull this back so it's not too thin, and then I'm gonna keep rolling on this side.
Looks good.
I love this. I really love this dough. I've been really happy with it. Once I figured out how to make it not look like wheat dough. So apologies for any vegetarians out there. I served this kind of batch to some friends Friday night, and they're like, oh, salami. It's like, yeah, okay, fine, sure. I'll just tell them. We'll just go with it. So this is where I'm at with the thickness of it. And then you're going to come in with your cookie cutter or a glass, and you're just going to make round circles. So I'm just going to go through and do that. Plop these out of the glass. Just going to do a few to give you an idea. I think you can see this. I'm going to move. Okay.
I'm pleased to see how the circle is holding together really well and it's not like falling apart. The dough looks good.
Yeah, I've been thrilled with it. I like this one. I think you could. I was looking at wandering around Real Food, which is our health food store here in Helena yesterday, and looking at what other colors could we do. So there's your matcha powder and your spirulina, so you could do like a blue or a green or something. So I'm gonna start with the filling, so I'm not gonna go through all of this. So here's what. So it looks like cookie dough, right? So this is a recipe from one of my favorite blogs, which is called Chocolate Covered Katie. And this, I think she called this, the link for this was, so you want to eat an entire bowl of cookie dough. So this is This is chickpeas, salt, baking soda, vanilla, nut butter. Much to my dismay, Jif, the fake stuff, works really, really well here. Some white sugar and then some chocolate chips. If you can't do nuts, I don't know what you would do if you can't do nuts. My Damien, who's on here, he and I were trying to figure that out. He's a baker. But what would you do for this? Like maybe coconut butter. I don't know. So I'm just grabbing sunflower butter. Okay. Did that not? And if you don't bake, it doesn't turn green, right? Does it turn green because it's sunflower and something? What's the weird?
No, it hasn't turned green for me, but yeah, I have baked and it's turned green.
Okay. I know sunflower can act a little weird sometimes, but yeah, that's awesome. So I'm just grabbing a little dish table, not actual tablespoon, baking tablespoon, but like dinner table tablespoon. I'm putting that in the center. And here is the fun filling part. You don't want to overfill, unfortunately, as much as you might be tempted, because then you're going to have a dough explosion in your oven. So there's the pinch method, and there's like the fold over method. I'm gonna make sure you can see this. Okay, so to pinch, the fold over method is kind of like you're doing that, like fold over the end of a box. I'm gonna fold this part over. I folded the first part, and then I'm just gonna tuck in these. I don't know if I can show you this. I don't know how to do my angling here. I think you can see that.
Ooh, yummy.
Okay. Now I'm gonna throw that on my baking sheet, and then I'm gonna do just a couple more while I have you all. You can also just pinch them up. Because this isn't a jam, it's not gonna do the jam lava thing in the oven. But I'll probably be making some regular like vanilla dough with raspberry jam as part of the delivering of Hamantaschen around town, and we'll have to make sure we don't have a jam explosion. So you would go through the rest of this, which I'm not going to do right now with you all. And then you're going to gather up the dough bits like you're doing with pie or other cookie doughs, roll it back out, make it into more shapes. I want to show you what I did for the pictures that I had on our social media. How many does this recipe make? I've gotten about 12 or 13 out of it. I think this right now I'd be a little too thick to get that. I can probably roll out the center a little bit. I want to show you. So here is the finished product, which you can't see. Let me. This elsewhere.
I'll sure try.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
Thank you.
Good assistant.
Thanks, babe.
Of course.
Okay, here is the final product. Okay. And then what I have done, I have loved, is they make Pasha makes a vegan white chocolate. So I'm going to microwave this and do a little drizzle, and then you throw in a little bit of beet powder, and then you can get your pink drizzle. So I'm just going to mute while I microwave. I'm going to do 30 seconds, mix it, and then do another 30. I'm going to throw some chocolate on the floor, which is very important. So I'm going to microwave it for another 30. So I'm just going to throw it back in, warm it up a little more. And this is the flour I was using. If anyone wants the gluten-free flour advertisement, this is Pamela's brand, gluten-free and vegan all-purpose, which has brown rice, potentially this, I don't know if sorghum on its own, it just says sorghum flour. I don't know if that means it's a whole grain or not. A couple different kinds of rice flour that aren't whole grains. Okay, now we've got chocolate chips that I'm just gonna mix up and do a little drizzle of these for my make them pretty and to make them look a little less like salami. They don't taste like salami though. Needs another little more. All right, this looks nice. There's some good spreadable texture there. Thanks, hon. So I have a like a cookie cooling rack. This makes it really easy to over a plate. So the plate's great for cleanup, cookie racks, so they're not sitting in chocolate, although who's gonna complain about that? And then we're just gonna do a little drizzle here.
That looks great.
Now I'm throwing in my beet powder. I don't have a measure. I'm doing half a tea. I don't know, not a ton. You don't want to overwhelm it because it's going to taste like beets. I don't have a measure here. A little bit of this with a little bit of white chocolate chips. That's the measure. The red velvet idea came from this blog called What Jew Want to Eat. And she makes all sorts of like fun, colorful twists on things. And so that's why I wanted to keep going with the colors on this. So here's the icing. I think it probably looks a little brown, but it's just this magenta color. It's real nice. Go the other way. I'm trying not to immediately eat these. This looks pretty good. And then my finishing touch is some rainbow sprinkles because I can't resist, and it's Purim. Obviously, this has come a very different direction from your prune and apricot Hamantaschen. But if you want something fun, so we've got. Can you see this? Is this if I? Oh God, I'm gonna.
Beautiful.
Nope, that's not gonna work. Can you hand me the camera?
Yeah. A little bit of shaky cam here, sorry.
Hi, do you want to see the cookies?
All right.
I'm almost done. Oh, okay.
And here are the cookies. It's not quite capturing the color, but here are the cookies. And I'm going to switch my video. All right. And those are the Hamantaschen, and then you shove them in your face. Purim tradition is to deliver Hamantaschen and maybe other treats around to friends, family, neighbors, your Jewish community, and that's part of the celebration. So that is the end of what I'm showing. And Goldman's, I'm sure you have the recipe, so you know how long and how hot to bake them. I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm just gonna say, have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Happy Purim. Happy to stick around with any questions if anyone wants to chat. Montana Jewish Project has, yeah, is that a question or is that a hi?
So our recipe, I don't know if it's the same as yours, and maybe you said it and I missed it, but it recommends freezing them before baking them. I don't know if you do that.
Like after filling?
Yeah, filling them, and then I don't know if I need to look if it said freeze them completely or just throw them in the freezer and cool them. Because otherwise, with the cream cheese filling, a lot of people are like, it runs out. So I don't know
Okay.
if it's the same
Yeah.
with jelly, because I've never made these before.
I haven't done with cream cheese filling because my body does not like it when I give it dairy. So yes, I have seen that also. I mean, yeah, follow what it says. I think that would work. Help it keep its shape. Help the cream cheese from just doing something.
Would
Yeah.
you do the same with the jelly filling, or you
I
haven't
don't
had
think
that
you would
issue?
need with other fillings. I don't think you need to. If you've sealed it tightly enough, the jelly is probably not going to run out. This chickpea stuff doesn't want to run. There's like Nutella, Hamantaschen, that's probably going to be okay. But yeah, the cream cheese I think could be a little watery. It's going to be delicious though. I'll be excited to hear how yours turns out. Were you on did you find us on the Facebook?
Not yet.
Okay. There's a Facebook event for this, so if you want to come back and let us know how it went. And then we've got a couple other events coming up for Montana Jewish Project. We've got the ecology of Passover coming up in a few weeks on Zoom at 4 p.m. on Sunday the 27th. So I think that'll tie in not super directly with Kim's presentation about whole grains and agriculture, but definitely along the same lines of, that I think there's a lot of themes in Judaism and more people talking about the connection of holidays to the earth and Jewish values to taking care of the planet and ecology. So that'll be a really great event. And then Sunday the 3rd, we have a talk on how it's called Passover and Easter, an imaginative journey. Passover and Easter, an imaginative journey, Montana Jews and Christians in conversation. So we have Rabbi Mark Kula, who's from Bozeman. Nope, he's from Missoula. And then retired bishop, whose name I'm spacing, a retired bishop. They're going to be speaking about how can Christians as individuals and congregations get be involved in Passover Seder's in a way that's respectful and in good collaboration with the Jewish communities. And then we would be happy to do more cooking classes. I have some other, this one kind of covers whole grains and chickpeas, but there's always more chickpea recipes to make for April. So if folks want more cooking classes, let us know. And we'll be happy to connect. So thank you all so much for coming. Again, I'll stick around and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you so much, Julie.
Thanks.
Those look great. This was so fun.
Good. I hope you make some.
I will.
Excellent. Thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure. Happy spring, everybody.
Happy spring.
Yes, indeed.
All right, thank you. We'll see how these turn out. Wish us luck.
Yeah, good luck. Are you on our email list, and how do you find
I
out
just
about
found
this?
you on Facebook, so.
Oh, great. Yeah. Feel free to reach out with any questions. You can read more about Montana Jewish Project on Facebook and our website. Happy to chat with you guys too. Want to learn any more? Thanks.
You.
Cookie eating time. Can't hear you.
I did mine with butter. I need to wait 3 hours for it to cool, but they're fridge, and it's going to be perfect timing because then Greg's going to get home and he's going to help me fill them.
Woohoo.
Awesome.
That was really good, Jill. It's just the three of us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Really, really good.
Oh, it's still recording, but we can edit.